think I'm spooky?
Be afraid. Be very afraid. What have you done to his eyes?
Good evening, and welcome to Soft and Spooky. For today's video, I'm going to be talking about that bear with a crippling substance addiction. Oh, no, not that one. The other one. I initially mentioned this movie in my upcoming horror movies of 2023 video. Basically, a very oversimplified premise of this film is about a bear that got into some cocaine in the woods because a drug smuggler dropped it out of a plane. Just as a heads up, I am going to be going into heavy spoilers throughout this video, so if you were interested in seeing the movie, I definitely recommend go see it and then come on back. But yeah, that is your spoiler warning, and let's sink our teeth in. So the true story begins in September 1985 with a former narcotics officer named Andrew C. Thornton. He basically became a drug smuggler, and he was flying in a plane, and there was so much cocaine in there that I think it was like worth $20 million or something. They had so much that it was weighing down the plane. So they needed to drop a bunch out of the plane, and eventually he just decides to hop out as well. Unfortunately, and this is the same in the movie as well, his parachute did not deploy and he fell to his death.
Jumps out the plane. Splat.
This actually became a huge scandal, and it launched an investigation to see how deeply embedded the drug ties were into the local police force as well as the government. If you were interested in finding out more about the case, they actually detail it in a book called The Bluegrass Conspiracy. Unfortunately, I will note the Goodreads reviews on that book were just atrocious. I think it's like really poorly written, and there's a lot of errors in it, and it also is really boring. So you can still check it out if you want. Thankfully, in the true story, there wasn't a murderous rampage that the bear went on, because initially I was kind of worried that this film might be in poor taste if there were actual victims of it. That being said, in real life, the bear did die because of the cocaine, and it's kind of depressing because this innocent bear came across cocaine because of somebody else's negligence and died because of it. So, really not cool, man. Something that I just did not expect to read is, I guess the bear was taxidermied and is now displayed in the Lexington, Kentucky Fun Mall. But the bear was discovered in December. So this bear sat in the woods for 3 months from September to December, just decomposing. And according to my research, because I did look it up, the temperatures in that area in 1985 did not dip below 54 degrees. So if the heat didn't get this bear, then the bugs definitely did. I'm a little suspicious of this bear. I don't think that's the same bear. But yeah, let's go ahead and hop into the plot. So after the cocaine has been dropped out of the plane, Thornton dies. And we have a couple of hikers that are in the same woods, and we get our first glimpse of the cocaine bear. Oh man, I did find this scene to be frustratingly realistic because there are so many videos on the internet of people getting dangerously close to wild animals. Why would you do that? So somehow this lady just does not pick up on the cues that this bear is acting super weird. At the very least, it could have rabies. And she gets dragged away and torn up behind a bush. So thus far, I feel like the movie has been pretty well paced, and it's filled with like adrenaline and excitement. And then we switch to a mother and children. Only joking. But I do feel like the mom, Sari, and her daughter, Dee Dee, the scenes with them, it just grinds this pacing to a complete halt, like every time. And honestly, I'd rather talk about literally anything else in this film. So we are going to talk about Margot Martindale. If you watched my previous video, you know I'm a huge fan of this actress, and I was so excited to see that she was in this film. I really hope that she doesn't get mauled by the bear. And honestly, I feel like all the scenes that she's in, they're the best of the movie. Like, she just, her character, she's kind of an asshole, but in a good way, and she just kicks ass throughout this entire movie. So her character, she plays the park ranger Liz, and she's got herself a little crushaboo, and his name is Peter. He is coming over, and I guess they're doing kind of like a mapping of the area. Oh man, I don't know why it took me so long, but he's played by Jesse Tyler Ferguson from Modern Family. I don't know, for some reason, it's a good wig, I guess.
That is not correct.
So while Liz is waiting for Peter to arrive, she is smoking a cigarette and kind of dolling herself up. And we also have one of the park punks. He's a teenager named Vest. Vest is played by J.B. Moore, and he has a relatively small amount of acting credits, but he looks so familiar to me, and I realized why. He looks like he could be Pete Davidson's little brother. A funny moment, though, is when Peter arrives and he smells smoke in the visitor center, Liz just immediately blames it on Vest, and I thought that was funny. I like that. Anyway, Ranger Liz and Peter go into the woods with Sari because she actually found out that her daughter Dee Dee skipped school and went into the woods with her friend Henry. All three of them come across a freaked out Henry and no sign of Dee Dee, and we get our very first main character kill with Peter. I will say I do like the fact that the kills in this film, it sort of seems like they inch up the brutality each time. I like that this kill, as opposed to the first one, it's still minimally shown, but you get a little bit more. So he is up in a tree and he's hanging upside down, and the bear crawls up there, digging into his leg, just tearing that thing apart. And you see all this blood kind of dripping down as he's upside down. And so I felt like that was really effective. We knew what was going on, and the sound design helped clue us in. So I thought that was pretty good. Well, I guess you do see a little bit more because later in the scene, there's a badly CGI'd severed leg that the bear drags its nose across like it's doing a line. So there is that. Also in the forest, it is just a hopping place. We have two drug dealers. One is played by Ice Cube's son, O'Shea Jackson Jr. I just love him. His Instagram account is so unexpected and funny to me, and yeah, I think he's great. He plays the character David. Along with him is the drug lord's son Eddie, who is played by Alden Ehrenreich. So these guys are sent into the woods by Sydney White, who that's an Amanda Bynes movie. But he sent them there to retrieve any remaining bags of cocaine. And the drug lord Sid White is played by Ray Liotta. Unfortunately, Ray Liotta passed away shortly after filming the sound recordings for this in post-production, and I do appreciate the fact they actually dedicated this film to him. So oh my gosh, there are so many people in this movie. We have the punk teenagers, so we already met Vest. We also have Stash and Ponytail, and all three of those guys try to jump David in the bathroom. As you could guess, it did not go well for them, and when they got beat up and they're passed out, David and Eddie actually discovered that these kids have some of that same cocaine on them. So they actually end up forcing the one teenager, Stash, to lead them to where they've hidden more of the cocaine. In the forest, we also have a cop named Bob who is investigating this entire case because he got a lead that the drugs are in the forest. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like at this point I was just thinking to myself, like, there are too many cooks in the kitchen. Why do we have so many characters? But after introducing all of these characters, we get a scene that totally blew my mind. Just wait. So after the other two teenage punks wake up, they go to the visitor center and call for a medic to help them with their head injuries. Soon after, Ranger Liz races in there, and we have a really great miscommunication between her and the punks, because the punks think that she encountered David, but she thinks that the punks encountered the bear. So when she hears something outside the door, she gets ready and takes aim, and Ponytail opens the door. And both him and Vest are super surprised to see a bear out there. But Ranger Liz accidentally misses the bear and just blasts open Ponytail's head. It's not often that I get a jaw drop moment in a movie, but consider my jaw dropped. I just was not expecting this, and I think this became my second favorite scene just because it totally took me by surprise. Since we're talking about it, let's get to the peak of the movie, the ambulance scene. It's just the suspense, the dark humor, the acting, everything was perfect in this scene. There's literally nothing I could say bad about it. So the two medics arrive to the visitor center, and the door is kind of blocked by Ponytail's dead body. We also see that Liz is clinging on to life, holding a gun, as well as a back room door that is closed with blood everywhere. The one medic, Beth, is played by the gorgeous Kayun Kim. She just, wow, she is so pretty. The other medic is named Tom, and he is played by a very familiar face on the internet, Scott Cease. If you can't place where you've seen him, he has done some hilarious TikToks about basically being an angry retail employee.
I'm a seasonal employee.
Oh, sweet prince. I hope this movie helped you escape IKEA. Honestly, he's kind of hot too. I love a good mustache. Whew, it's getting hot in here, isn't it? So Tom opens the door to the back room, and we see that Vest did not make it. It's just such a shame because he's got such a good head on his shoulders. Man, if only he could have gotten a good head start. One might say he lost his head.
Okay, that'll do.
Okay.
Yeah, somehow the bear decapitated him, like, cleanly. Not sure how that happened, but yeah. So I will say Scott Cease's acting in this, like his facial expression was spot on. I thought it was so good. And meanwhile, through rasping breaths, Liz says what Tom cannot find the words to say. That scene is so good. I love that part so much. So the ladies scramble to the van, and Tom is basically pinned down by the bear, just getting all that juicy slobber on his face.
I am pinned underneath the door, and there's some guy with a drool gun. He's firing the drool at me.
What a good sport. Kind of made me gag a little bit. Honestly, I was rooting for these three so hard, and like I could not sit still as this scene was going down. I was so nervous with Beth's driving. Like, Mama, look at the road. As you could expect, the main part that I remember about this scene is what happens to Ranger Liz. So she's strapped to this gurney inside the ambulance, and she falls out, bounces, and just her face is grated along the pavement. I guess this is kind of better than being mauled, but oh man, it was so sad to see her go. And the scene just like continues to build up, and a bunch of other stuff happens. I don't want to ruin it all, but yeah, that scene, I would rewatch the movie just for that scene alone. And I kind of wish that the movie would have kept that same like balls to the wall, kind of batshit energy throughout the entire thing, but it just kind of feel like it declines afterwards. And after that scene, we continue with Sari trying to find her daughter, and I feel like Papa Meat on YouTube says it perfectly.
Oh God, I wonder what happens with this mom and her daughter. I'm bored.
Other people have said it, and I honestly have to agree. I feel like you could have completely removed the entire mother-daughter storyline. Or you could have just made them like side characters that are just a couple of people also in the woods. Instead, I have to find out that the mom likes this guy and the daughter's kind of okay with it, but not really. And they decide to pick up extra shifts so that they can work together. And she ends up bailing on the plans with her daughter. But it's okay because her daughter actually skips school and goes
Don't
with her
care,
friend.
don't care, don't care, still don't care. I don't care, I don't.
This is also a personal thing, and I don't want it to come across like I'm coming at this child actor. The character of Henry irritated me.
It was far!
It gives me the same vibe as like teachers in high school that think they're cooler than the other teachers because they drop the F-bomb sometimes.
Check this out. Comfortable as shit.
Teacher, you shouldn't curse.
I know I shouldn't, but now I'm too cool not to.
I also kind of feel like the jokes sometimes fell flat for me, like pretty much everything that Henry says. Also, like the bear collapsing on Eddie, I didn't really think it was that funny. I did enjoy Tom's lines though, the medic, and I liked the scene where the cop shoots at David and somehow ends up like shooting off fingers that aren't even next to each other. That was a good joke. I like that. There was something, I can't even give it a full compliment. There was something that I didn't enjoy in that scene, and it really distracted me. So basically, one of the punk teenagers named Stash is leading Eddie and David to this gazebo where they've hidden all the cocaine. Unfortunately, the cop Bob actually gets to the gazebo first and discovers the cocaine, and so when they get there, they discover that it's missing. But then the officer apprehends the group from the top of the gazebo. Where was he hiding? How did they not see him when they were walking up, even at a distance? It's like a really stupid detail, but it just kind of bothered me because I don't know how they were surprised. Oddly enough, I feel like the cop's death was the one that actually kind of hit me a little bit. And it's kind of surprising since he's not really, like, he is a main character, but he's not really developed very much throughout the film. Basically, he ordered this dog online. I think it's online. And he ordered a lab, but instead got this really fancy breed. Like, I think it's like a Lhasa Apso. And he's super disappointed that it, like, doesn't play fetch, and it basically looks like a show dog. And later on, Sid White actually ends up shooting him, and before he's dying, he either has like flashbacks or he envisions like the dog. And it honestly kind of broke my heart because you could tell that like he was bonding finally with the dog and starting to love it. And that dog is never going to see him again. And he's never going to see it again. I need to go hug my dog. One positive for the animal kingdom in this movie is that the bear actually lives as opposed to the true story. And I initially kind of thought it was nice that the bear lives just because it makes me sad that it actually passed away. But then I thought about what the reason could be, and I think I know why the bear was kept alive. I think they're gonna try and make a sequel. I hate it here. Overall, I think that Elizabeth Banks did a really good job directing this film, and I think that it has a few shining moments, and it's generally just a really fun movie to watch with some friends. Another thing, and I feel like this is kind of contradicting with some other people's feelings, but I thought the special effects looked kind of good in this movie. Like, a lot of people criticize the way that the bear looked in CGI, but I didn't really think it looked that bad. Like, obviously, I can tell it's not a real bear. It doesn't look like a real bear, but it doesn't get into that uncanny valley thing where it just completely takes me out of the moment. So I didn't think it looked too bad. I also thought the gore looked awesome, and I'm not sure if they used like practical effects or if they did CGI. Since I only watched it once, I couldn't really analyze, but yeah, I thought those looked pretty good. One thing I will say is that I do feel like the film kind of got bogged down just trying to be more elevated and hit these emotional beats. I think that the actors did pretty well with what they were given, but ultimately I feel as though in the script the characters weren't developed enough to really give an intense emotional payoff, so I feel like they could have just avoided it altogether. I think there were some videos that were theorizing that basically it was trying to draw similarities between mothers and babies and like parental relationships, but I'm good. I don't need that in a movie about a bear on cocaine. Overall, I don't think that this movie would be like an Oscar winner, but I do think that it was an original concept and they did a pretty good job bringing the horror and the gore to this. So I would recommend at least once checking out this movie and let me know what you guys think. Alright guys, and that is about it for my review on Cocaine Bear. If you like this video, definitely leave it a thumbs up so I know, and let me know in the comments if you have any recommendations on what I should watch next. And with that, I will see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to stay soft and spooky. Bye!